Good? And you're good?
A
Okay.
regular virtual meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the Greater Boca Beach Park District is now called to order. It is Monday, May 18th, 2020. Time is 5:15 p.m. Joanne, would you please call the roll?
Or Commissioner Ernst,
Here.
Commissioner Engel,
Here.
Commissioner Rollins,
Here.
Commissioner Wilson,
Here.
Commissioner.
Here. Thank you, Joanne. Commissioners, we have a request to move the item number 4, the FAU MOU, to number 1. Do you have any problem with that? Okay, and anybody, any other change to the agenda? Okay, hearing none, it's time for public requests. Brianne, would you read the requests that have come in by email first?
Sure will. We have a few here from several people. We have Roberto Gonzalez, a Boca resident. I fully support the opening of the old Boca Chica tennis courts for pickleball. This would be a very cost-effective and help provide a needed improvement while you are deciding what to do with the golf course. By the way, the recently installed fence around the tennis courts are partially collapsed and doesn't look good at all. Thank you for considering this suggestion, Roberto Gonzalez, Boca resident. We do have the fences being repaired. This is from Tina Gold. Dear Commissioners, considering it will be several years before you have the funds for the golf course development, it would be a good move to open the former tennis courts for pickleball. These courts are in good condition and will only need... Just need to remind the public to mute. Sorry. Okay, similar to several other parks in the area, such as Hidden Lake and Sand Pine, these facilities could be open to all residents with minimal cost or on-site management required, possibly one person to open early in the morning and close at sunset, similar to nearby Yamato Scuba. Considering you are actively considering spending $75,000 at Ocean Strand with no recreational plan, this new pickleball facility would be a great improvement and provide a facility for the growing demand for pickleball. I would recommend a portalet for restroom facilities and not a $10,000 a month trailer similar to the dog park or your SRC cost during construction. This would be a great way to gauge the interest in outdoor pickleball. If this proves popular, then you may want to build this formally into the golf course project. Respectfully, Janet Goldman. Excuse me, I don't know why it came through as Tina Gold. This is from Barbara Chaffee. Dear Commissioners, I am voicing... Sorry. Dear Commissioners, I'm voicing my objection to pickleball courts or playing pickleball on the west side of Northwest 2nd Avenue, including the parking for pickleball participants. We have been in discussion for the past 4 years about golf course and what to put where on both the west and east side of Northwest 2nd Avenue with no progress towards golf education, etc. on this property as yet. The thought of... You are struggling with your budget to accumulate funds to undertake future construction. Boca National Golf Course on the west side of Northwest 2nd Avenue, and now a commissioner has suggested funding pickleball in this area. This seems like a poor financial discussion and/or decision. My neighbor, a sports and training advocate, says he regularly plays pickleball at the Sand Pine Park, 300 Newcastle Street off of Yamato and Dixie Highway. We gotta keep some social distance right there. Okay. I can't do this with you here, I'm sorry.
Okay, I was just gonna try to help you do
Okay. You're struggling, my neighbor, a sports training advocate, says he regularly plays pickleball at Sand Pine Park, 300 Newcastle Street off Yamato and Dixie Highway, which is usually empty. I believe this location is a city park. In addition, I noticed that there are 6 pickleball courts at Sugar Sand Park, which can be advertised more to the public. If pickleball has such a popular following in Boca Raton, the city recreation department should also be involved in incorporating this activity at various city parks for the residents and pickleball groups. We have one more to read here, and this is, yeah, those are the last ones. I just want to remind the public to please mute yourselves when you come into the meeting, so that we can get these read onto the record and recorded clearly. Good afternoon, Commissioners. On behalf of our 3,000 youth and adult players, 350 volunteer coaches, and 200 middle and high school student community service members, Sabre is requesting that you approve the FAU Memorandum of Understanding for the 2 Glades Road soccer fields. These fields have been foundational to serving our members for the past 25 years and are needed as much, if not more than ever, now and into the future. At least 1,000 of our youth players use these fields for practices and games. Not having these fields in the community inventory would have a ripple effect for all our members. Our Team Boca players use these fields for their practices and games. We need these fields on Friday nights to play our girls' recreational games. 2 years ago, the U.S. Soccer Federation published its Play, Practice, Play unified curriculum for parent volunteer coaches of U5 to U19 children. Sabre adopted it immediately for our children. Age-appropriate practice times are a key teaching component of PPP, which received 90% approval from our coaches this season. To get more than 650 of our elementary school-age children off the fields by 7:30 on a school night, we needed the Spanish River, Woodlands, Estridge, El Rio, and Patry fields during this past season. Even with all those fields, we had to place more than 2 teams on a field in some age groups. We have about 350 adults that play year-round and pick up in in-house league games. If the Glades Roads fields were not available, many of these games could be impacted since youth have precedence over adults by long-standing city scheduling policy. Sabre policy reflects the same priority for children. As I said earlier, we've already had reduced practice space in some age groups beginning at under 9. We see other trends now and on the horizon that point to more fields needed. Population demographics in the district have changed. Addison, Meisner, and Verde are under expansion to K-8. A new elementary school will be built next to Don Estridge when the Addison Meisner project is completed. We're seeing youth and adult registrations from new residential construction addresses in downtown Boca and northwest Boca, in and around the park at Broken Sound and the Spanish River Library. Parents want more soccer for their children. We're being pressed for more longer youth seasons like Little League, lacrosse, and rugby currently operate. This January, we opened a trial of GU11 to GU12, 6-week spring-summer for 44 players. It was filled in 8 hours, and then expanded in a few days to 66 that wanted to play. That's 40% of the girls in those age groups. In the last 2 weeks of our U5, U6 season in February, we offered a 4-week extended season if enough players signed up in the last minute. 29% of families registered their boys and girls. The other age groups will also want spring seasons as these are offered in Delray and West Boca. Parents and coaches want more individual skills training, i.e. how to dribble, pass, and shoot. We're planning new skills training program that will need more field space. Our adult program is currently at capacity due to limited field space. In 2019, we added a new adult spring league for men under 35 following requests from residents whose children had played Sabre and had to go elsewhere to play since we had programming for men 35 and older. The 4 teams we offered were filled immediately. In 2020, we could only add 4 more teams to our men under 35 league because there's only 1 more night of field space available. The need for fields follows from the current expansion of our schools and new residential construction. These children, their parents, and new residents to Boca Raton play soccer. Sabre, the district, and the city have served these players for more than 40 years. Please approve the memorandum so our programs are not disrupted. Thanks. Earl Starkoff, President. That's all the public comments.
Is there anyone on the phone who would like to call in? Get any calls?
I have Greg with his hand up. Greg Lannis.
Hi, Greg.
Hold on.
Hello.
Hey, Greg.
Hey guys, how is everybody?
Everybody's good. For the record, would you give your address too and your last name, Greg?
Metro Landis, 1780 Southwest 22nd Ave, Boca Raton, Florida, 23486. First of all, I want to say that I'm pleased that you guys are all well, and I'm back at it, doing your job. It's difficult times and priorities are shifting, but I have a question for you and a comment for you. Question I'm getting from a lot of our members is, what is the status of the response from the city and the golf course in general? Somebody could speak to that.
Rand, would you like to answer this question?
Well, we recently had a meeting where the board gave direction. I'm going to just mute you real quick as well, it's echoing. We told the city that we're still seeking approval of the course. We do understand, obviously, there have been some major disruptions to the city operations during this COVID-19 pandemic. So we've been understanding and patient with that. We're also gonna look at our budget as we move forward. We have not progressed with any plans or designs on the golf course, but it's still out there. We're just taking a breath, I guess, as we start to open back up and move forward on things.
Yeah, certainly there are other priorities, and everybody is sensitive to that. The golfers in general are real pleased to have a golf course, and Grove Community is in exceptional shape. So the last thing I'll leave you with is a comment that seems to be consistent across the board from our golfers is, they want you guys to reiterate your commitment to building the golf course and going involved. Making sure what you guys want to do. Because if you're not, it may be a good time to move in another direction. That said, I'll leave my microphone and you guys respond.
We lost you on that last sentence.
Okay, I was just saying I will mute my microphone and let you guys respond.
No, your last sentence of your comment. Thanks.
Okay. So, the comment was, if you guys are still committed, we're behind you 100%, but if you're not, it may be appropriate to pursue other options, in terms of, the ability to move forward. I know the city, last week approved, 6-month extension on sale to GL Homes, and with the uncertain times and uncertain tax revenues, I think there's going to be a greater sense of urgency on their part to close the deal with GL Homes, and it would be good to know, where we're going from there.
Well, speaking, we are still committed, but we still need the design approval. So if your group would like to approach city council to encourage their approval of the design, we would be eternally grateful.
I know for a fact that a dozen of our folks have been sending direct messages to them with that. Maybe, I don't know if this was a deadline or request for a time frame on their response, but just maybe a note reiterating your intentions and your desire to go it alone, and ask to get it on the agenda for discussion at your end.
It's a good idea. Is there anything else, Greg?
Just stay safe, folks. Stay safe, everybody, and again, it's good to see you all.
Take care. Do we have any more callers for him?
Seems like with their hands up.
You're muted.
I have somebody with, yeah, you're muted. We have somebody with their hand up, hold on. Last 4 digits of the phone number 3316.
Yeah, this is Ryan Bowerson. Can you hear me?
Can you guys hear?
Hi.
Would you give your address, please?
441 Northeast 46th Street, Boca Raton, Florida, 33431.
Thank you. What would you like to say?
I'm not sure where you are in the agenda, but I was given information about that FAU memo and memorandum. So I didn't want to go out of turn, but I just wanted to voice some support for approval, I think.
Okay, this is the time to do it. This is for public request, so please continue.
Oh, well, I mean, it's just, the Sabre League uses those FAU fields, and, I mean, they're the
We have Edwin Salazar.
Okay,
Hi, go Greg, glad to see you guys are all doing well. My address is 2042 Park Place, Boca Raton 33486. I'm actually also a parent that has 3 kids that play in the Sabre League and Team Boca and uses those FAU fields, as well as a parent that plays in the Sabre Adult League. And I gotta echo Ryan's comments that it's really huge for the parents that not only have kids that play Sabre and Team Boca that are involved with their kids, but also involved in still playing adult leagues to show our kids that, you know, the dedication that we still have for them and also for the sport. So I 100% echo Ryan's comments. I'm actually one of the captains of the league. Can't say that every year I look forward to being able to play on those FAU fields like Ryan said. So I hope that 100% you guys are supportive of the kids using the field and the parents that still participate and, you know, still kind of back on our childish whims, but still playing in the adult Sabre League. So please, you know, take that into consideration for all the families that are involved. So that's my 2 cents.
well, thank you, Edwin, for your 2 cents, we appreciate it. Anybody else?
Let me scroll through here. I don't see any more hands raised.
Okay, perfect. Well, hearing none, public requests are now closed. It's time for the approval of the minutes of the regular virtual meeting that was held on May 4th, 2020. It can be found on page 3 of your agenda packet. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Hear a second?
Second.
Second, Craig? Okay.
Yes.
Joanne, Commissioner Engel made the motion and Commissioner Ernst seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Joanne, would you do a roll call vote of this, please?
Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Wallace,
Yes.
Commissioner Ray.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to proceed with the business, and we've moved the FAU Memorandum of Understanding. Commissioners, did you all receive that, and were you all able to review it since it was sent out last night? Steve says he has, Bob?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Aaron? Yes. Craig, have you reviewed it?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so,
Just so the public knows that a different agreement than what was in the agenda packet was sent out last night with some updated revisions that highlight, it allows for either party to leave the agreement. We did away with some of the hold harmless language that was in the agreement, and it clarified the payment plan to be annual rather than quarterly. For anybody who has the agenda packet.
we'll start with Commissioner Engel. Would you like to comment on this? And any comments, any suggestions, any changes?
I'm good with what's there. I'm glad we have an out, which we didn't have previously. And, I know the importance of the fields to, not only soccer players, but their families, if they are residents of the community. So, I'm ready to, vote in favor of the MOU as, currently formatted, what we got last night.
Thank you. Commissioner Wright?
I read through it, everything looks good, from what I see, after things were changed.
Okay. Commissioner Rollins?
I think we did a nice job capturing the intent of this facilities agreement. I'm happy that we were able to negotiate an extension on that because without these facilities, a lot of our programs would be impacted as far as trying to shuffle folks around to meet their recreational needs. So I'm in support of the facilities agreement as presented to us.
Thank you. Commissioner Ernst?
Madam Chairman, my thoughts are echoed as the other commissioners. I think it
itself is good, but I would like to know about the liability part of it, and can we perfect that liability so it's really reduced, the safer group is using the field. Should a tragedy happen, that they are the ones who are more receiving what's going on. And don't get me wrong, the coaches are terrific. They've always waited, at least for my daughter, when she was there, they always wait till the last person picked up by the parents. But I'm a little concerned that the way the agreement currently reads, we're on the hook for the liability.
Jay, would you like to
Jump
weigh
in.
in?
So, can I jump in there, because,
Yes.
for years, I said, as chairperson of the insurance committee for Waterloo Soccer. And Waterloo Soccer does have liability insurance. And as part of the liability insurance, there's, back in the city, I think we have to sign an indemnification agreement as well. But the agreement that we have with the soccer association as with the city and with us, we have to name them as additional insured on our liability insurance. That gives first call for any incidents that took place over there at FAU. We have the same exposure on any of our parks, whether it's at Spanish River, which is owned by the city, Hatchery, all of those facilities. Each one of those facilities are covered by our policy of $1 million per occurrence. We're named as additional insured on the soccer association's policy. I can't speak to the whole pharmacy agreement except to say that if it's part of the usage of that facility, there is that part of the stipulation that the interested parties, including Florida Board of Regents, and a whole host of names, University of Florida, be put on that certificate. And these certificates come through my office, so I see them go out, and the city is diligent about maintaining those certificates, and when they're up for expiration, the city gets about a 30-day notice to the insurance agent that they are required to produce that. And so far, it's worked flawlessly years past. But I do believe that the whole harness agreement that the soccer association has to sign also covers some information. As far as the whole harness, I can't speak to that, to the big huge question as far as our soccer community in that respect.
Jacob, would you like to weigh in and on Bob's comments and Greg's?
Thank you. Just a couple observations. And both commissioners raised some very important points. And just a few things to keep
comments, commissioners?
I just want to reemphasize the comments to Jake is that the city and other interested are specifically named on the certificate as additional insured and be protected under the policy that's provided by Florida Youth Soccer. The limits themselves are each club has a separate vertical liability limits with Florida Youth Soccer, so it doesn't mean that if something happened in Tampa that exhausted their limits of liability insurance, it would affect our ability to collect under the policy of the Soccer Association. FYSA, Florida Youth Soccer does provide that insurance, and it'd be a lot of money to maintain the limits of $1 million, $2 million per occurring, $2 million for the aggregate backup that all partners agree within the association might be expected to sign.
And Craig, if it would make you feel any better, coaches for the Soccer Association of Boca Raton each year have to go through a safe sport course to identify any problems like you're concerned about, and whether it be from coaches or from an outside source. So they are more vigilant than maybe back in the day when I was coaching. So every year we have to go through that. Aaron, you probably had to take that too, right?
Yes, they did.
Susie, I agree with that. I know Sabre as an organization, is probably the best organized organization. I think, and I appreciate Bob, the insurance, walking dots out. My question is just about the agreement itself. Does it connect the dots to Sabre? Because they're the ones who are going to use the fields correctly and adequately. It's really a question for Jake, because the agreement, it says in, I think it was section 25, it says either party can be create, establish a partnership, a joint venture, anything university other than usury. Neither party shall authorize or commit or obligate the other party without others. I don't know if that's the clause where it is, but we are basically the entity as defined as usury. And we really need to make sure that it's the city or Sabre is used. And that's where I'm just trying to make sure I understand how the dots are going to be connected. If there is a real tragedy on the whole thing, because the way the whole harmless was a big deal getting that out, right? So I appreciate where we've come. Just asking, is it appropriate or from a legal perspective? If, well, you feel, Jake, your opinion, will this district be, are we going to be held accountable for something that, if something bad did happen at those fields, and Sabre was managing overseas?
motion to approve the FAU MOU as it stands, and Commissioner Rollins, were you seconding that? Okay. Is there any other discussion, commissioners? Hearing none. Joanne, would you do the roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Joanne. Okay, Commissioner Ernst, would you like to do your second motion, please?
The second motion is for the district and the users of the field to enter into an agreement that summarizes the responsibilities for the FAU agreement, that will be notified to the consent in conjunction with this policy.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Engel. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. Joanne, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Jacob, you have your,
Have no trouble. Thank you.
okay, we have that, thank goodness, and Brianne, thank you for all your work on that. That was a long part.
Sure.
Next item is the prioritization of the district projects found on page 9 of your agenda packet.
This was,
Get it started?
yeah, this was really just an informational topic and certainly a discussion item if anybody wants to talk about anything in there. I put it together, it was an updated report from last year, updated to this year for our CIP projects, to give you guys updates on where we are, what we've completed, what's in the works, and just a timeline on things as they are, and as they have been. We're gonna be in budget discussions very soon, so prioritizing what comes up, and we're gonna have to base some of that on the recommendations in that document as well as things that come out of the needs assessment. So this was provided really as an informational resource, and then of course if there's any questions or anything that come up, we can talk about it now, we can talk about it in a couple more meetings, we can talk about it during the budget, but we wanted to get that information out so you guys have it now ahead of time.
Very well done, Brianne, thank you very much. Commissioners, would you like to enter into some discussion about this?
Yes.
Commissioner Engel?
Yeah, I have a particular concern. I've been reading about the effects on the environment of beach nourishment. And, you have to forgive me, I can't, give you the source of the information, but I saw some material that illustrates there isn't that much difference between letting Mother Nature take its course in excavating sand from 2 or 3 miles out or 200 or 300 yards out of what we do and replacing what's been washed away. Over the long run, it seems that Mother Nature does that for us. And without the environmental issues potential issues that we face. So I was wondering if Brianne, if you could look into it and come back to us with some kind of information. Because we're spending a lot of money on this every year. The city is spending a lot of money. The Corps of Engineers is spending a lot of money. And if we're just doing more harm than good, and spending millions of dollars, I think we need to address it, maybe take another look at what we're doing in this situation.
Okay.
Respectfully though, Steve, this is Greg, can we really do anything with it? I mean, the beach nourishment is driven by the city.
No, I understand that. And I don't know that we can do anything, but we can apprise the city of our findings, and they may take another look at it. Or we can reconsider our contribution. If this is something that we don't feel is advisable, and, there is
nature takes its own course, that you may have escarpments carved out to the road, new line, and allow Mother Nature to take its course. And it does take a long time, but sand to rebuild. It's certainly interesting to figure out. I'm sure that Stevens probably has some questions about that. Maybe that's where I would start research.
Okay.
And you've done on neighboring communities too. I think that's a very important thing to consider.
That's, one of the things I wanted to bring up. Island Beach, there's no beach conversion. Now, again, they're not a public beach. They don't have public beaches. Although I believe all their beaches are privately owned by various condominiums and private homes, in that community. But they don't devote any funds to beach immersion. And their beaches, from what I've seen, are very nice. There may be more to that, but, talking to Jennifer, doing, a little investigation right now.
I think they get their Sam from Delray Beach, Steve, literally drifted that sand.
That could
Maybe
be,
thing to be interesting to find out more details about. I haven't heard of the environmental issue being addressed. I'd be interested in hearing if there is such a concern.
I was under the impression, based on my reading, that it affected marine life on the ocean.
I have a question for Melissa, if she would, for the next meeting, give us the timelines that she sees some of these projects, when they need to be done, or if they're on wish list, or, how she feels that we
Like
should approach these.
Like the tennis courts and those kinds of things on the,
Yes.
okay, we'll do that.
Related to the 2019 projects we did, two questions. One is on page 11. Was the hatch reef batting cages, were they replaced as well?
They are in this current fiscal year, yes. They're
Okay,
done.
so they're in 2020.
Yeah, and they're done.
There's
And
one
they're
more
done.
set.
Okay, that's good.
One more set?
And then, when the other question I had is later in that same about the golf course. And I know we went through the whole issue of the person, the spotter out there. Did all of the, I know the responsibility was left with the individual what he had.
Yes.
We were to remove the remaining. Did we take down any structures or what's exactly out there?
There's a, green, I guess it's aluminum shed out there, and that's about it, right? There's a little, at the maintenance facility out at the golf course. It's that green shed, and
And yeah, it's just the main thing that we own, and then there's a little shed.
there's like two, and another little shed. That's what's out there.
There's some tanks too.
Explain about using that as a temporary maintenance building, while the first 9 holes are being constructed, so that, we can save some money, because there is water, or there is electricity being run out. And he feels that there would be a minimum amount of,
Sure, yeah.
to get it up and running again. Just early.
So that's fine, and just because it's our building that, I guess someone needs to periodically go out and visit it and make sure that it's locked and that nobody's using it and there's nothing bizarre going on.
Melissa goes out there,
On a monthly basis.
probably more than that.
Yeah.
At this point, it's been a weekly or every other day basis, but she's out there frequently.
Okay, no problem. And then on the prioritization list of district owned properties, I guess I would really encourage us to, page 15, there's the park security enhancements. I feel very strongly that as much as we possibly can do for cameras, security, at least give a deeper presence to the community of the parks, that there's additional security, great. And I fully support, again, cameras that can discourage things. It really is not, I don't know what level of detail we have there. I know that the Boca police are pretty good about going through and giving their own assessments of things. We ask them. It
Yeah, Melissa's gonna chime in here with some information on that.
Yeah, hey, Craig, just an update, we are waiting on, I met with, Greg Stevens, with the city, and then Alex Keller, I know, is also working too, where they're doing, they started doing the walkthrough of Sugar Sand Park and Swimming Racket Center, another park they have, and they're putting together a proposal for us, on where cameras will be. We gave them some prioritization of patron safety first, and then, of course, patron safety as our number one priority as we phase in stuff, and then theft prevention as a number two priority. So they're working on a proposal currently. Actually, I'll shoot you an email at Alex, but during this time we've been shut down. I know Alex has continued to work on it because we did exchange an email where we put those priorities in. And he also talked with Leslie here at the Swim Racket Center and Kim at the Swim Racket Center to see what their thoughts were too, just to get us all on the same page and make sure that we were moving forward the way everybody thought we should. So we're working on it. It's not there yet, but we're definitely working on a proposal and a phase-in plan to handle those with priorities.
There, many years ago, we talked about doing these enhancements, and there was a problem with connectivity. So, is that still present at Sugar Sand?
It's actually, if it is, it will be addressed because it's actually the IT people that are walking through with them as well for the cameras. So they'll be taking a look at all of those and the weaknesses have and what we have what we need infrastructure-wise to make all of this happen as well. That will be a part of the evaluation. And there was some money set aside for some phasing parts of it to start this year, but we want to get that plan together first. So I'll get an update on where it's at, so maybe I can have an update for you next meeting to see exactly where we are.
You know, that same spirit, I really would not object to, and I don't know why we never really did the empty now proposal of, it was kind of an environmental, solar type trees, things like that, yeah. I mean, we kind of, it was put off, it kind of got put off, but it kind of bakes into the whole thing, look nice at the science, recording. But it's about having a stronger energy. So they all kind of go in.
Part of the problem with the Florida Power and Light solar thing at this exploring was that there's so much shade over at Sugar Sand, there's so much tree, they needed a very wide opening to work, so it wasn't gonna work there. It is something we can look at by the ball fields. At the time, they want use of the land for that, and at the time it wasn't advised, that we can certainly look at it again and have Jacob review some of the old agreements that they had sent and see if they're, what he thinks, and maybe he's done it in other cities too. We can send that to Jacob to look at.
I don't know that I would do it right away unless Aaronfield or any others feel strong, as long as you have the other, give you a higher priority list.
Okay.
Site.
Okay.
Here's my suggestion for our June 1st meeting. I think we all should set our priorities and bring it to the next meeting, and we're all on the same page. We probably will be, we're pretty much in agreement, so if you want to put that on the June 1st meeting and study this a little bit further, ask Melissa and Brianna questions. I certainly have a few, and also get these other priorities out for us.
I think what we need to do is to understand the need of some of these things that are going to district-owned properties. What's the timeline, for instance, to replace the fuel hazard work? What is that timeline?
We can put those together.
I think that'd be important. Then under city-owned properties, I think there's items there.
That's
So a lot of this is going to be budget. And certainly where I've got lower revenues will look like after this pandemic. I'm not sure
was just gonna say, nothing this time, we'll talk about it next time.
Okay, good. All right. Brian, do you have anything else to contribute on this?
No.
Okay, let's move to the, next item, the Dormley lighting project, Brian.
Okay, page 16 in your agenda packets is a request for $18,850. It's actually going to be transferred from unexpended capital funds, so the city is not requesting any additional money in our budget. What this does is replaces the heads of the parking lot lights at DeWorley Park with LED lighting, which will be more sustainable and also more economical. And so, looking tonight for a motion to approve $18,850.
So here, I'd like to make a motion, that we approve the request for a lighting here at the park lot. And I might add, it pays the weight, because the first time it's been left is stage $4, and so, and I'm all in favor of the lighting that take place there, this is my motion. So,
Okay, thank you. I do have a question, Brian.
Yes.
Is it going to be turtle friendly? Even I know it's west, but it's ambient lighting.
I'll verify, I'm sure they ran it through their sustainability manager, but I'll verify just to make sure.
Any other discussion, commissioners?
No, as I will say, the new, lighting, the LED lighting is really directional. So not only is it brighter and greater, it's a lot of direction. But your question about turtle friendly is important because some of them are big globes that look like the sun, and they really should be downward facing. And if anything should be done over in Spanish River Park, they have globes with full lighting in it. Those should be done as well. And we should all support that one because we can make that lighting much better.
Spanish River in our park, so.
Understand? But encourage them to do all their other parks.
Is there any other discussion? Joanne, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins,
yes.
Commissioner Wilson,
Yes.
Commissioner White. Commissioner White.
You're on mute.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Joanne. Number 4, boardroom safety precautions, Brianne.
Okay, what was in your agenda packet, starting on page 17, is boardroom safety precautions, and Melissa spent a lot of time putting these options together, and you can see them laid out there. Another option we have is using the Willow Theater at Sugar Sand. And Jacob can talk a little bit about where we're at with our virtual meetings and when we can anticipate having to go back to live meetings. But when we do go back to live meetings, an option that we do have for us to use is the Willow Theater, which would give us space on the stage to social distance all of you. We've ordered masks that we can encourage the general public to wear when they come back to our meetings. We can set up the theater with 6 feet between each seat, so we'll take off certain seats, and staff, the theater staff and ushers can assist as well, since we fund those positions. I think as long as we can stay on Zoom meetings, we will not continue that. I think everybody's been in agreement with that, but once we do have to go back to meeting in person, the theater is another option that we already have that building and it's we're already paying the staff over there, so it could be a way to bridge the gap until we go back to whatever normal is.
Jacob, would you like to explain how some of the other communities are doing the meetings?
Sure, just a couple of comments and observations. We're currently statewide in the phase 1 reopening plan, and under the governor's order, we are currently allowed to continue with these virtual meetings. A quorum is not required to be physically present in order to conduct public business. Earlier in the month, about a week or two ago, the governor's task force published a plan for Florida's recovery. And within that plan, it
extend the virtual meetings for a bit of time, given the fact that three of us are at risk with our age. And, possibly, getting his ear that way, or to, just go ahead with whatever he has to say. So I'd love to hear what you wanna go forward with. Steve?
For me, I think the best way to go is to use Willow Theater. To go through the expense and the time of setting up plexiglass barriers, both in front and on the side of each commissioner. We're talking about something that's going to be temporary. I'm praying to God that this is not something that 2 years down the road, we're all still walking around with masks and trying to stay 6 feet apart from each other. So I would rather see something that really doesn't change any of the makeup of any of the facilities that we use. So I'd be in favor of setting up tables at the Willow Theater, maybe closing off every other seat, of the commissioners accessing the facility through the stage entrance. I think that might work out the best. And for for meetings where we're gonna have a larger crowd, I think that would work better, rather than try and set out spaces between each chair over at the swing rack. I just think overall it works out better and it's the least intrusive.
Thank you.
Jake?
I can echo what Steve has had to say. Hopefully we will be in this pandemic for too much longer than necessary, but I think having it at the Willow Theater gives us the opportunity to have more of the public involved, rather than having a very limited number in our chambers there at the swing rack. At least you can probably, because the Willow Theater will hold, what, 150
Five.
people. So you can probably easily get people with the appropriate distance, 30 to 40 people in there, and that's probably more than what we might expect unless we're in the budgeting process. And I want to hear and see the public. And just from my recollection, most of the public that constitute these meetings are people in the same risk category as Steve.
Interesting.
I think giving this adequate space and making it available so that they could attend their meetings, I think is important for them to hear our deliberations. There may be some people who can't because they don't have the IT resources that most of us have. And I like that idea better than setting up bank teller cubicles in our commission rooms. I'm hopeful that this pandemic, they'll come up with a vaccine that will be successful in batting it, or some type of treatment that will make it less of an issue than it currently is.
Thank
So
you.
that's my recommendation. I do these virtual meetings as long as you possibly can.
Thank you. Erin?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I would much prefer to try to extend the virtual meeting as long as possible. My husband is back at work now, so he is a frontline worker and possibly being exposed, who knows? So, I would hate to give it to one of you, and not know it. So if we can extend it as much as possible, and then the Willow here makes much more sense. The in and out, swimming racket is, there's a people way in, one way out, and it's a very small hallway. So, it just makes more sense, I think.
Thank you. Craig?
I second what somebody said. Willow Theater makes a lot of sense.
virus can last in, you know, in its contained spot up to 17 minutes. So, you know, if somebody gets in the elevator and it's not just having one or two people in there at a time, I mean, and that would limit people who can't use the stairs. So the longer we can do the Zoom, and I like the Love Theater. Brianne always comes up with good ideas to keep us all safe and happy.
I think it was a group effort with Melissa and Joanne. We were all sitting there thinking, this is really complicated.
And Melissa, thank you very much for all the work you did. It really, there's a lot that went into that, but I like the idea of being able to have more people involved in these meetings as far as the public goes. So, do we need a motion on that, Jacob, for anything? I don't think so, do we?
No, just consensus and direction to the executive director.
Okay. Brian, you have your
Got it.
we have the Ocean Breeze pickleball discussion. Melissa, would you like to give us your input, please?
Yes, Commissioners, sorry, I'm getting to it myself, on page 47, I did, for your benefit, per your direction last meeting, looked into the potential cost of the pickleball courts. And I will say that these could be pickleball or tennis, whichever the direction of the board wants to be, or it could be a combination of both, whichever. The cost would really not change because the cost of resurfacing the surface is just the cost of resurfacing them. So anyhow, you'll see a chart on page 47 that breaks down some of the costs. When the gentleman came out and took a look at the courts, there's 6 tennis courts, regulation size tennis courts on site right now. And the first tennis court is in pretty bad shape. It would really need to be torn up and completely redone. The rest of them we could resurface, put a fiberglass cover on them like we did at Patrick Park and resurface them. So that's where you'll see that the first expense of the $65,000 is what it would take to resurface with fiberglass the 5 tennis courts out there. And then the next one of $34,000 is what it would cost to tear up the one that's in the worst condition. And unfortunately, it's the very first one you would come to at there, so everybody would have to walk past that court to get to the rest. So we can't really just fence that court off and not use it. Now, there are some things we could do if we wanted to, is instead of resurfacing it, we could take it, tear it up, and just put rock down there, and just let it be leveled out with rock, and that would save some expense. So that is, when you look at item number 2 and 3 on there, that's an either or, that's not a both, and that's why you'll see the total down there, if that makes sense. So just, it's there for your review and for direction and any questions you may have.
Is that for the parking?
No, the rock would be if you wanted to save even additional cost, instead of item number 1 and 2 on this list, you could go in there and just take that first court off and level lime rock across there without re-asphalting it, and that would be even less expensive than these 2 options here.
Commissioners, do you have some questions for Melissa?
I don't know the cost of that offhand. The only thing I would warn a little bit about on Steve on that would be, you know, with these courts, the way they would be laid out, we would put them out there and we really wouldn't have somebody out there every day watching them. And there is, you know how kids can be, and there's tons of kids in that neighborhood, trust me, because I spent a lot of time out there over this breakdown with trying to keep those as secure as we can, the whole area. And I'm concerned that those rocks would end up on the courts, and somebody could trip and fall on them if they weren't properly swept off, etc. So I'm afraid there could be some liability issues there.
So basically what you're saying is option two, we need more level alongside block for the asphalt to provide that surface area would be the way to go.
That's the most economical of those two options.
Last meeting, the parks were not open. And now that they are, is it still a great need, and we still have a desire to do this?
Sorry. Well, I just had some questions. Because I know that when I drive by here, those parts are already not super close to the road, but close enough to the road. And moving them down this close to the road with no high fence, balls could potentially be hit onto the road if they were shifted this far south, it looks like. And I'm wondering why we went from 6 courts to 16. Why are we making it so many courts to have so many? So my thing was it was just a place for a few people to come to be able to play a little pickleball or tennis or whatever from the neighborhood. It seems like a lot of courts to be put here with no oversight or anything. You know what I mean?
Aaron, maybe a couple of comments. We're really not relocating. That red line that you see there is the current fence line of those courts. So what they did is they just did a Google Earth so they could superimpose over there what we could do. At the time of when I discussed this with him, I asked him to get us as many courts as we could because my thought was I did not think that the commissioners, that the board would like the appearance of having some courts fixed and looking well and then some courts looking unkept. And also the possibility that if we did that and then more people came out and those unkept courts were there, would they try to go ahead and play on them still? And would that cause an issue for us? What I will say is if you wanted to reduce the number, obviously we could take the 65, divide it by the 16 and find out approximately how much it would cost per court to resurface to get a lower number if you want, and we could just accommodate. The reason why it went to 16 courts is those are all pickleball courts, and you can get more pickleball courts on one tennis court. So that's 16 pickleball courts. That's what will fit out there.
Okay, so my thing was, I thought we were just kind of keeping what was there, resurfacing and doing it as cheap as possible, just as a place for people to come from this local neighborhood to play here. I didn't think we were doing 16 pickleball courts because that's going to be, I have a feeling, a scheduling nightmare and people nightmare to put 16 brand new pickleball courts here. I just thought we were doing resurfacing these tennis courts that were here, putting some pickleball lines as an option, and keeping it minimal. You know what I mean?
I can do whatever direction you want. That's what I was mentioning is I asked him if you're going to resurface some of the courts and not all of them, then you're going to have, and it doesn't matter to me. I'll go whatever direction the board would like us to go in, but if you're going to resurface some of them, then we got to figure out what would you like to do with the ones we don't resurface. Would you like to just fence those off, or?
No, I meant resurface all of them, but just as tennis courts.
Okay, well that's fine. That does not affect the cost though, because if you're resurfacing, you're resurfacing.
The fence, the lines, the fencing between.
The only thing it would take out is a 4-foot high fence in between. Yes. That's if you did all tennis. If you put some pickleball out there, you would need to separate pickleball from tennis with some fence. So 60 would be the highest. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Sixteen courts and had 4
16,
That's why I-
yeah, it's whatever you guys would like to do. The cost of resurfacing that square area is here. It doesn't matter, we can lessen the number of courts, no problem.
Question though,
Commissioner, Rollins has made before, he was asking.
Turn that man. Scientists turning this into a destination that we're gonna have a hard time changing. If we decide to, if we're able to move forward with the golf course, which we are, we hadn't planned on anything for golf over there. So we looked at designs for tennis and kind of moved past that. Now, there may be a spot over there, but I haven't heard a big hue and cry recently from the pickleball group. And I don't know what the demand is, that I want to spend this amount of money for a short period of time. And this has also served as a staging area to the parking lot was when we had some work done over there with FDNL. I just, I went back and forth on whether I like the idea of making this available. If we invest the money in resurfacing, and as Aaron said, there's a lot of kids in the area, what better surface is there for skateboards and rollerblades in that area out there, which is unsupervised. And I'm just not sure that I can support spending this kind of money for a short-term fix. And once we do this, are we creating an unintended consequence of having to, if we were to take this away, having to put it into the design of the golf course, just by the fact that we've taken an identity away from the community and now they want it back in. I'm gonna sit this one out. Quite honestly.
Craig? You're muted.
yep, there you go. Let me, first question for Melissa is 5 tennis courts. I think means from the Google Earth picture there, is that saying that's all cement? Is that just the tennis courts with cement?
That's all tennis court material.
So even the green area is not grass, it's cement.
Correct, the area, the red is the exterior fence, well, I only say that because the courts 1 and 16, the fence goes down, but the red is essentially the fence, it's around the courts that are currently there, and everything inside that is, in fact, playing surface.
Points that Aaron brought up and Bob brought up. Aaron's pointed out proximity to highway and, the problem we'll have once we start construction on the course, it may not be worthwhile to invest $100,000, which is what it's going to be one way or the other, on a temporary facility. And there's already, we heard, one communication from someone in the neighborhood, from Barbara Chaffee, I believe it was, who thought it wasn't a great idea. Maybe we might be starting up a hornet's nest where we don't have.
there's a way to put a fence up that they can't easily, climb over the fence, or I think we need to have Melissa look into something to keep the neighborhood safe. And since there are other pickleball courts in the area, I don't think that spend $100,000. Well, better than none.
I mean, I'm just curious though, is there's no way to just clean these up and make, I mean, people were playing on them before. Is there just no way, I mean, they don't have to be,
We can look at some less expensive.
surface, perfect tennis courts, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the liability.
I mean, that's the tough part about that, Aaron, I'm sorry, is you're right, and they're just sitting out there, but about the time that we go out there and we open up and make it so people can go in and there's cracks and they fall, then we become liable for that because we're responsible for maintaining and we put them up there. So, it's not, I'm in agreement with you guys, it's more money than we thought because the one was in worse condition than we thought. If we could have gone out there and just resurfaced the 6 courts that are out there, forget about the 16 court number for pickleball right now, because that doesn't matter. We could make that number be as low as you guys want. But at the end of the day, we have to pay to resurface that whole same area, regardless of how many courts we made. So we could make 4 courts, but we'd still have to resurface it all. So so originally we were thinking it would essentially be the $65,000. But when we got out there and had somebody really take a look at it, there was that one tennis court that is in really bad shape that we have to address, and that's what caused the price to go up.
Is that cover us there, Jacob?
It would help. I mean, again, signage always helps in the context of, you're trying to mitigate any potential risk, you may not eliminate risk, but it might help. That'd be a mitigation, there are juveniles who are injured that day. It may not, it may depend on who your audience actually is. I mean, again, signage and providing appropriate warnings, necessary warnings to invitees and others who are using our facilities. It is certainly a step in the right direction, but again, depending on the age and other considerations regarding who we're appealing to, might have some impact on that discussion.
I also heard that there was drinking of adult beverages there, and is there a way we could incorporate that in the signage that, no alcoholic beverages, or to limit our liability?
Again, we can certainly put that in something, I would encourage you to do that, but again, if you're engaging in an unlawful activity, drinking in public or drinking in a public park, there may be other, codes that are being violated there, and there may be other enforcement opportunities. We just need to be vigilant, if you made aware, we need to take appropriate enforcement action through PD or otherwise, we need to know in order to take that action. It strikes me from where to describe this facility as an attractive nuisance, which creates liability issues. And I think that unless it can be managed to a safe level, I would want people using the facility, even if with it use at your own risk. They're just not going to get, that's going to give you
Okey-dokey.
Commissioners, do you want to direct Melissa to look into the xeriscaping and cleaning up these areas, and asking for Brianne to check with the city about us being able to do the irrigation, since it is their property on the west side?
I'm in favor of getting more information on that stuff, because I think we do need to start being good stewards of the property and improving the appearance.
I would agree. So let's call it a full step. First step is just have a conversation with the city about where they can put some light on it, so we get a better understanding of anything out on that front. Second phase priority is to clean up the hotel site or any areas of public nuisance area. And then the third thing, I guess, I'm open for, and maybe it's just simply not possible, something a little bit lower key, lower expense on the wall side. Right now, it doesn't sound like
the guy who does our mowing, if they create too many more ruts, he's not gonna be able to get his tractor out there to,
Just talking,
mowing the lawn because of the ruts. Golf course, not
just
the
talking
lawn.
about the guy.
So, there's an issue there too.
We just need to get the city, start looking at our design and give us some input so that we can decide what we're gonna do. I think that's where we are, and that's what Ray was saying, is that, you know, if you're still in favor of doing it, let's get an answer from the city on our design, so we know, it's going into the budget, period, we need to have that answer, so we can make plans to get this, course developed.
And,
And,
go ahead, Erin.
well, I was just gonna say, in terms of the four corners, that, did you want to keep up that fencing, the green fencing that's still there, or were you thinking of taking that down, or?
I think it remains to be seen what we can do as far as, you know, if we can get the irrigation going, then we have to look at things from that perspective. So, we need, like Craig and Bob have said, we need to get into this conversation with the city and see if they're going to approve the design, and if not, why not? And then we can go forward with our other plans. Brianne, would you, reach out to Mike Weekhead?
Yep.
See where they are?
I sure will.
And see if, get on the agenda, you know, that topic can get on the agenda for a city council meeting.
Sure will. Yes.
Okay. I think it's time for Mr. Ernst to, shine on page 49 of the agenda for the approval of the, invoices.
Yes. Madam Chair, included in this cycle of invoices are three payments to the city, for, operations and maintenance. So the total amount that is, payable for invoices is $4,375,560.60. I'd like to make a motion.
And in the form of a motion.
Madam Chair, I make a motion for approval of invoices of $4,375,560.60.
Do we hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Engel. I do have one question, on this, the payment to the, Oregon Museum. Do we have, any, how do I want to put that?
We don't have a pandemic clause.
We don't have a pen, so regardless, we don't have an out clause at all with this.
Well, this one was here. We can look at our future agreements. I'll have Jacob look at them and see what our options are.
Okay,
And if this fall under enforcement, you are, void the contract in that case, but it is, I don't know whether, it's not a hurricane or a fire or another flat, but, it seemed like, when was it, I was thinking the same thing, Sue, when was it, program supposed to arrive here for, set up?
For design zone, I'll check the dates. I'm sure that the Exploring will be opening soon, but I will find out and we'll check our other agreements to see what our options are.
it says 1/22/21 through 4.
There you go, so January through April.
Should we go, hopefully, yeah, but
Yes. Is there any other discussion, commissioners?
Only on that one, the order, that's the same one that we ordered the last one.
We order a lot from them, yes.
Yeah, so I guess I would propose, if you talk to them, just to move everything to 3 months. That would be the ideal thing. Maybe, I mean, if we lost the benefit of the smart through May. Would they be, just like a rent, people are asking for a rent tax on the end.
Yeah,
They do something for us, we work with them, I'd go more on the approach. We work with them an awful lot, and we're not profit like they, I like some flexibility.
they're incorporated into the city programming too. So I'd have to see how that would impact any kind of like field trips that they have next year and things like that. I'd have to look at how their programming would be impacted by that.
Wait, do you wanna delay it being set up from January?
Well, we need to give something back, I think, don't we? So I'd like to keep what we have a little bit longer. 3 months of use? I'm looking for 3 months of use, so I'm looking for how.
Well, is something else coming in? Something's here now.
Well, the summer there usually isn't an exhibit because they have summer, there's typically summer camps, so something would be moving out in May, and then they would have the summer off because they use those rooms for science camp
Right, and then does something come in the fall?
in the fall, yes. I
So
think it's
not
the
this
blood,
one, a different one.
yeah, I think it's the, with the mosquitoes and I forget what it was called, but I'll look at it and see what we have and see if they can adjust, but every adjustment impacts the exploring programming and field trips and all those things that they plan for.
Is the one that's coming in the fall, is that Oregon Museum too?
I don't know.
I think
I
Oregon.
mean, I would just keep this one where it is for now. I wouldn't delay it 3 months because we don't know. I mean, that throws the science museum way off, doesn't it? I mean, that means it's gonna be pushed into the summer. Which
They
is-
can't have exhibit, hopefully there's summer camp next year, yeah, they won't do an exhibit in the summer.
That would be a good thing though, to have it for the next 3 months, because you got nothing in there and there isn't summer.
To get it earlier, to
Well,
get it,
this is next year.
Yeah, but keep what you have today is what I'm asking.
oh, I'll see what they have, I will look into that and find out and report back.
Is there any other discussion? Joanne, could you do a roll call vote for the approval of payroll and invoices, please?
Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkinson,
Yes,
Commissioner White.
Yes.
Motion passes, thank you.
thank you, Joanne. Commissioners, we are now to the reports and discussion items. Executive Director Harms is first.
I only have two items, the banking RFP we wanted to discuss tonight, we'll just schedule it for the first meeting in June and finalize it. We had anticipated hearing back about something, but I have not yet, so I'll talk to Commissioner Ernst and hopefully we can just finish and wrap that up for the next meeting. I'm still waiting to hear back from the city as far as a date that we can anticipate getting their budget from them, but usually we have it this month, so I'm anticipating getting it soon. I know it's gone through the third floor level and it's just waiting to come to us. And then my last item is a schedule for staff. We put together a schedule for the three of us here where we won't overlap, minimally. I guess when Melissa and I are here for meetings, we overlap, but we are using our masks and mostly practicing social distancing. And so we will keep that up, and the schedule is out, and if we make adjustments along the way, I'll pass those along, certainly to the chair and anybody else as it happens. And that's it.
Thank you. District Council, Mr. Horowitz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no further reports.
Okay. Commissioners, I'll start with Mr. Engel.
I am good.
Okay. Commissioner Wright?
No, I was just gonna say, with the scheduling of the staff and with everything how it is right now, I would be supportive of staff staying home and doing work as much as possible as well, though, because I know, Brian has a child at home, and, I think Joanne looks after her mom and things like that, so, I think it would be super important to give them, as much flexibility as possible, especially with the limited summer camps, and not wanting to send your child to summer camp or daycare or anything like that. So I would be super supportive of, and I think we haven't skipped the beat in terms of getting work done, so I don't think that's any worry. So I think we should be really supportive of the work from home, like Twitter, right? Work from home forever and ever.
That's right, Twitter did that.
So, I'm supportive of that, and I don't feel like there's a need, if there's not a need for them to come in, then I don't see why we would force them to come in.
And they have been working very hard from home. If not harder than going into the office because they don't have the distractions of people coming into the office and sitting down and wanting to talk to them. So I totally agree with you, Erin. I think it's a great idea to.
Although it might be more torture, you know.
Everybody,
Go into the office, I think, that's kind of get away, right?
Everybody's adjusted really well.
Safer, you know.
Thank you.
Commissioner you bring?
Yes, unfortunately, I do have one item, Madam Chair, and I guess I bring it to the attention of our board that, the county has lifted all beach from sunrise to sunset, and so effective 12/1 on May 18th, that's been available. And yet, the city of Boca Raton has, I appreciate their abundance of caution on things. The dog parks have remained closed, and to my understanding, there is no priority to open the dog parks. And I've heard some complaints that, this is dog parking. And go ahead,
It's opening as well as the skate park tomorrow,
tomorrow.
right?
Okay,
Isn't it tomorrow?
good.
Yeah,
That's all it is opening.
I think it's tomorrow. Let me double check our site.
I believe the dog parks, I didn't hear that, that's news to me, that it's opening on
Yeah, it's
Facebook.
opening
The second part of it though is, for those people who do go to the beach, to be able to park at the beach. And so your beaches may be open to walk on without allowing you to park at the beach. So do you have any news on that?
No.
So I guess I would request formally that we send a letter to the city requesting that they open the beaches parking, those, and they can restrict it to people who park in passes. I for one don't appreciate the fact that they have the parks, full boats, there's really no one there. We got a little booth there and they can limit the amount of the activity. So that forces people to park on the side of the road, that forces people to park legally in other areas. I think they can control it. I'd just like to see them effectively use the parking. I pay for an annual parking pass for cars, two of the cars, I should say. And I would appreciate that the park be opened at the beaches and areas in a reasonable way.
My concern with what they did though, like, they did the opposite of what Delray did. They didn't restrict any of the, what people could do at the beach, so for Boca, you can go and bring a towel and a chair and sit down. Versus Delray, they opened up partial
It's
parking,
fine.
but they restricted the use of the beach to walking and exercising and swimming, which I think makes a lot more sense. Whereas if you're going to allow people to bring towels and chairs, they're going to sit and they're going to congregate in groups of however many. So I agree with you. I think that opening the parking to permit it to residents, and district residents makes sense. But I think they need to restrict some of, what's happening. I don't think there's lifeguards out there to,
There's no lifeguards, and I think they're trying to stop, like Aaron was saying, Broward and Dade aren't opening until Memorial Weekend, so I think they're trying to limit,
Well, I for one disagree with waiting till Memorial Day weekend. If you want to have a mad herd of people going over there, that's what you get. All I'm suggesting is that I guess I'd like us to encourage the city leaders to reconsider the parking at the beaches and say dog parks are opening tomorrow, that's great, but if not,
it is tomorrow.
change the park. I'd like to be sure that the dog parks doesn't seem like it takes a lot of effort to do that.
They announced tomorrow,
also get COVID too, right?
I realize that, but we can't live in a bubble. I mean, I haven't seen too many of these dogs.
they announced that the dog park and the skate park are opening tomorrow.
Craig, are you making a motion to do this?
If it needs a motion, I'd say I'll make a motion that we have our executive director write a letter to the city requesting that they open the Boca Raton beaches parking and appropriately managed as they see fit with guidance from the CDC.
I would prefer to have it open for just residents, though, not for anybody.
Open for park, yes, permitted, people who have residents purchase it.
Do I hear a second?
Are you gonna second me in?
Well,
All that, and you let me know.
well, I have your opinion on it, but I also think that we should allow the city to, make the choices that they're making, in terms of the fact that it's their beach, and I think it will open in due time, and, I think we don't have beaches that are super crowded right now, which I think is a good thing, so.
or their mortgage, their, car insurance, their credit card bills. So that raised a red flag with me that possibly come November, they won't be able to pay their real estate taxes. So I came up with a thought and ran it by Jacob and Brianne to send a letter, to the property, appraiser's office and the tax collector's office to possibly consider doing the real estate taxes in installments rather than a big chunk in November and then, perhaps they'll just let it go by the wayside. But if we could, if they would make it into a smaller amounts, maybe some people could afford to go ahead and pay their real estate taxes and it wouldn't impact our budget as much as if they didn't pay at all.
What happens when somebody doesn't pay their real estate taxes, just out of curiosity?
Jacob, would you weigh in on that? We tried to discuss that with Sam the other day.
There's a mechanism called a tax deed, where if property taxes go unpaid, the property appraiser's office, the tax collector, will sell what are known as tax deeds. And there's a cottage industry where people buy tax deeds, and when a property is sold, ultimately they recover some amount of that cost. So then the taxes can become attached to the property and promote these deeds, and ultimately the property owner is responsible to pay those taxes, whether paid by a third party through the acquisition of these deeds, which then have value, that are sold on the open market. It's not dissimilar to a foreclosure, but it's through the sale of tax deeds.
It was just a thought, we can explore that further and we can look into it, you can think about it, but, it would just, be something that to make our constituents understand that we feel for them. And we understand that they have their issues and, we still want our tax money, but maybe there's a better way for them to be able to pay their taxes if they need to.
Would it be an option just like for anybody to do it, or do you have to go through like a process of showing hardship or, whatever? Because that would be it for somebody who owns a $10 million property who can absolutely afford to pay their property taxes and then go ahead and do installments or whatever, you know what I mean?
Good point, very good point. Well, just think about it, and I might bring it up again. So I just wanted people to think that, we aren't the hard-hearted, tax collectors here in Boca Raton. Our future agenda items are the banking and the security cameras. Is there anything else that you'd like to, discuss in the next meeting on June 1st virtually?
In that case, move to adjourn.
Do I hear a second? Joanne, do a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Bubbleson,
Yes.
Commissioner White.
Yeah.
Motion passes.
Mr. Byrne, thank you. Stay safe, everybody, and thank you very much.
Good to see you.